Newsletter time! This time it's summer 2026. Right out of the gate, one of the highlights for me is just this picture. Has Crew and Rude just chilling, having a barbecue, laughing whatever bad jokes they just made. That's just so goddamn precious. I've linked this in the description, so feel free to have a read at your own pace. I'm not gonna go into everything that's covered here, but there's a few things I think are interesting. Like, well, this thing. I mean, why not have Christmas in the midst of August? I do like that he's very open with the overall style going forward. With from chapter 6 onwards, there will be no more wacky, silly adventures, and you'll begin to see the results of the setup that has been made so far. He also goes on to say that chapter 6 is shorter, straightforward chapter that focus on one aspect of the story. Because of that, many things are still not focused on here. In fact, it may surprise you what was missing. But one thing will be clarified, whether you're ready or not. This I actually really like, the way he worded this. He doesn't give the exact details, of course. One thing will be clarified. I think that's actually a decent way of putting it. Also, this image is pretty cool. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. Anyway, he goes on to talk a bit about theories, and ends with that the speculative art, stories and theories that you come up with while the game is still ongoing will forever be special, because this is the only time such things can ever be created. I actually agree with this. I do actually like going back to reading what people were thinking or theory crafting at certain points during certain franchises like Kingdom Hearts, for example. I think it makes for interesting time capsules, and I think it's really cool. With that said, let's go to some of the concept art for chapter 5. This one is actually pretty cool. It's made by Temi Chang, who's very talented, of course. All these people are. Seems like they got the overall look pretty much immediately, and I really like this concept art. It looks pretty cool. With the watercolors and the hue shift there. This is very cool to see. I don't think any developer should underestimate how interesting it is to just chronicle the whole thing. Even if not all ideas are worth sharing, there's a lot that are really damn cool. And honestly inspiring. So anyway, the early concepts for the platforming was a lot more chaotic and more bullet hell. I way preferred the style they went with in the game. To me, this would have been too much, especially given how often even the player showcasing this takes damage, and all the pits, like, no, too much. A funny quote, I think, is, "This is an RPG game with a focus on character interaction. If the game turns completely into an action platformer, it carries the risk of making the player feel like, why am I playing a shitty knockoff of Hollow Knight?" Like, dude, it's okay to swear sometimes. Also, I guess you guys succeeded in that regard, because I do not think of Hollow Knight when I see this footage at all. But yes, I get what they're saying, like, they can't touch too much upon different genres, it becomes a completely different game. But I really liked the overall platforming that they implemented. It didn't feel out of place, and it honestly elevated the whole chapter for me. It was really well done. Apparently there were also plans to have more intricate puzzles with the platforming, and I think they struck a pretty decent balance with how it turned out. This would have been too much for my poor pre-brain. Here's some art by Gigi, if I pronounce that right, from 2020. The overall look, as I said, was pretty much settled. I liked this colored one with the reflections that ended up in the game. I don't think we saw too much of this, at least not at this size, which would have been interesting. Maybe this is what ended up with the terracotta enemy or whatever it's called. Interesting to see. As for Flowery, he talks a bit how his theme was apparently inspired by Full House, which he censors for some reason. Is house a bad word? What, you can say names like Illusion of Gaia, but you can't say Full House? But now that I think about it, it sounds so much the same. I didn't think about that. So apparently from the beginning, Seth had white hair and skin, and people said that apparently he looked like a Steven Universe character. So apparently Green's design was inspired by the art style of Splendidland, who designed Hacker and Ambulance. I think that's a nice little tribute. Also, this picture of Orange is just great. Just look at that smile. He also shows how Yellow looked in the beginning with more of a beard. I do prefer his finalized design, but it's cool to see. Nel, which I'm sure I'm mispronouncing, was also the designer of the Shino Beetle, Mantis Dancer, and the Terracotta Knight, as well as the Archer. And I like the sentence that it says, only 2 of them were used. In chapter 5 anyway. Interesting, I would like to see more of Mantis Dancer, and that's a good design. So apparently, a designer that worked on Illusion of Gaia and has designed Pokemon made this design, which Toby then tweaked a bit to fit the overall chapter better. That must have been a dream come true, because I know that he has referenced Illusion of Gaia many times, so being able to work on someone that did sprite work for that must have been so awesome for him. That's like me collaborating with Toby Fox on something. Be more of a dream come true. He also goes to talk about how he implemented more guest musicians to help with the finalized versions of songs. Camellia, for example, helped with the Cutie Mew Mew magic, which Toby originally sent out to him like this. I actually like this 8-bit version, it sounds pretty cool. He also talked about how he wanted to collaborate with different musicians on Flower Man, wanted a live version with vocals, but just didn't end up sounding well. So he got some help with the arrangement there as well, from a simple piano outline as he calls it. I think it's very nice that he brings in more people for collaboration. It doesn't diminish him as a musician or anything, it's just that sometimes you just need a little help. I don't think that's bad at all. I think it's pretty cool. We'll have to see more guest artists and other collaborations in the future. Both audio and visual department, of course. Lastly, there's the art for Pink made by Claire, who apparently pushed Toby into making Undertale. So I guess it comes full circle there. That's very nice. And of course there's this. Not sure what to make of it, but thanks for sharing. Always interesting to see this. I'm glad that they're sharing it. It's very cool and see how things developed. But overall, pretty cool. And even with the clarifications for chapter 6 and 7, it's also very nice. So overall, thanks for sharing.